Welcome to FTB Fridays for Friday the 30th of April. Wow, we're already at April 30th. We're recording this at 9:38 in the morning. I'm Jason C. McLean, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Samantha Gold, who you know from her art, from her contributions to Forget the Box, and we can now call her the vaccinated Samantha Gold. Is that
Hi.
not true? Hello. So, well, thanks for being here. And you this week you received the COVID vaccine.
Yes, I got my shot of Moderna on my birthday on Tuesday.
Ah, happy birthday!
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess, well, I mean, then now the vaccines are well, as of the news is that as of today, actually, every 2 to 3 days, a different age group is going to be able to set up their appointments for the vaccine in Quebec. And within 2 weeks, it'll be every adult. The last group is 18 to 24-year-olds. So, and that's like that's May 14th. So seeing as everyone's getting the vaccine right now, can you maybe talk a bit about the experience of getting the vaccine?
Absolutely. I actually booked online. There's a website called Click Santé. I mean, it's a bit problematic for people who are poorer, just because they internet access isn't as widely available. But I think you can book online. Anyway, I went on Click Santé. I put in my postal code. They gave me a list of available venues to get the vaccine. I booked a local Jean Couture. Went in. They were very careful about, how many people they allowed to wait. I got a text saying that I had to show up at X time. It was at 11:15. And they said, show up 10 minutes early. I was 15 minutes early, and they said I was only allowed to be 5 minutes early. So yeah, exactly. And so I told them about the text, and they're like, yeah, but there's other people waiting. And I said, well, do I have to go outside, or can I browse the store?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, you can browse the store. You just can't be in the immediate waiting area. So, I talk about how I have a chronic illness, whatever. I'm diabetic, and I was campaigning very openly for younger people with chronic illnesses to get vaccinated and to be prioritized, because, I felt, and to a certain degree, I still feel, that the government's vaccine schedule didn't really make sense. So anyway, time comes, I go to wait, I'm called in. They ask, why am I getting the vaccine? And I actually had a pill bottle with my diabetes medicine, and it actually clearly says diabetes on it. I offered to show the nurse, and he said, no, I believe you. And I explained that it's even though, I took the liberty of laying it on extra thick, explaining that it's very common among Filipinos, which is true. Somebody drops it out there's a lot of donut shops in Manila. I've seen them. So, he ran me through, the consent forms and all that. Then he asked me which arm I would like it in, swabbed the arm, put the vaccine in. He warned me of any potential side effects. He said, mild flu-like symptoms, that sort of thing. And then once it was over, I had a sore arm, and that was it. Had a little bit of grogginess, but honestly, it's the exact same reaction I get whenever I get the flu shot.
They kept you there for a little while just to make sure there weren't any bad reactions or anything like that, like they do with the flu shot.
The same thing they do with the flu shot. It was very standard. It was very standard, and honestly, for the people afraid of needles, nobody's putting a gun to your head and saying you have to look when the injection is done.
Which one was it?
I'm not scared of needles, but
which one was it?
I got the Moderna vaccine.
Ooh.
And it was actually easy for me to remember because I'm a big foodie. So I just remembered where balsamic vinegar comes from, because the good balsamic vinegar is supposed to come from Modena, Italy. So Moderna.
Okay.
I know I'm totally geeking out, but
I mean, I think they're an American company, but okay, or maybe they're an Italian company. I
don't know, but I'm super happy to get vaccinated. I've said very publicly, I was on CBC saying that I don't understand why people with chronic illnesses weren't included in the rollout that included the 55 and up, because that was absurd. We are just as high risk to get COVID as, say, a perfectly healthy baby boomer. So the fact that we were left out struck me as either, cruel at worst, and just stupid and irresponsible at best.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to get included, and I'm happy that they are sort of stepping up I'm happy to see that they are stepping up the rollout, and that people are actually, lining up to get it. I mean, hopefully the lines are socially distanced, but
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that mine is next Wednesday. I think I can sign up for it. And the current rule, and this is the interesting thing, because there was also they lowered the age to 45 to get rid of the I guess remaining AstraZeneca shots they had. That apparently is still going on. But for the other shots, like for this new rollout, it's currently today it's 55 to 50. Then it goes down to like 50 to 45. But it's mostly going to be Pfizer, and with a bit of Moderna and a bit of Johnson and Johnson mixed in. I kind of hope I get Johnson and Johnson, because that's one shot. Well, I mean, you have your appointment for the
I
next
actually, yeah, they booked the one thing that there's quite a few things I'm not a fan of with regards to the vaccine rollout, but my appointment for the second shot is in August.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a wait. And in fact, I asked my GP a few months ago, obviously before I was vaccinated, I asked her what she thought of the vaccine rollout, and a couple of months ago, and she rolled her eyes. And, with one eye roll, she told me exactly how she felt. My parents got vaccinated, I think in February or early March, and they're of the Pfizer vaccine, and they're not due to get their second shot until July.
Yeah, that's because the thing is that I know Legault said he said his goal is to have things back to normal by Saint Jean Baptiste, which is a cleverly chosen date, I guess. But they might actually give everyone who wants it at least their first shot by Saint Jean Baptiste. But that doesn't mean everything's back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, first off, what is normal anyway? I mean, there were a lot of things that were sort of imperfect in our society before, imperfect or just straight up sucky in our society before the pandemic started. So do we really want the quote normal when we can do better?
Well, I think there's certain things that happened before the pandemic started that I definitely do want to go back to. One thing is visiting people in homes.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I think that I'm going to restaurants, bars. That's something.
Mm-hmm.
I even think like giant festivals. I think that was part of, I didn't always go, but I always appreciated that we had Osheaga and festivals like that, which is not happening this year. Osheaga and Osanik, but
also Grand Prix has been canceled.
Yeah, and Jazz
And I gotta say, I recognize that Grand Prix brings a lot of business to the city. Yeah. But I personally was not a fan, just because of all the dirty old men who were looking for women young enough to be their children as sexual partners. And that kind of made me want to scrub myself with steel wool. Yeah. So, I had a different word that I can't say on the show. Okay.
But for example, something like the Jazz Fest, that was supposed to be in, I mean, issues with the Grand Prix is a whole other story, but, that's beyond COVID. That's not beyond the car race too. But the Jazz Fest, which was normally in early June or late June, I think it's like after Fringe, I think it's now going to be in September.
Is there any word on the Comedy Fest?
Not yet, and I'm on their mailing list, so we are. So I guess we'll find out. That's a bit of a tricky one because it's like it's normally like early August, or late July.
Well, it's late July, early August.
Late July, early August, but that's also an indoor one, and indoor theaters are open. The only problem with something like that is something like Just for Laughs, same with Osheaga, relies a lot on acts from out of town. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of even if the borders are open by then, we don't know that that's going to be the case right now. And these aren't the kind of festivals that you can put together in a month. It takes several months of planning.
As a theater reviewer, I've had the privilege of covering quite a few events that adapted to the reality of COVID. For example, Fantasia very smartly put their festival online. And from what I remember, the tickets were really inexpensive, and you could literally just log in and see a show. Festival de la Bête Noire, which I had the honor of participating in as part of Quagmire Productions' Poe in the Snow. What they did was they also put the festival online. They made the tickets really affordable, and the way they sort of set the rules to give people a safe indoor theater experience was that they invited people to submit recordings of live performances, but one of the requirements was that these performances had to have as little, if not no, post-production possible to give the experience and the authenticity that would come with a live. It was certainly challenging because I got I got convinced to act in one of the pieces, and there are a lot of nuances with filming that can be incredibly complicated. But Just for Laughs was able to put something on. I believe it was last September, where the shows streamed. Some of them were free. I saw the Canada's Drag Race show, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that even if they can't sort of gather in indoor theaters or even get the acts in, that they will put a lot of it online.
Well, maybe the thing is, or maybe do some streaming to venue. The thing with stand-up comedy is like Dutch Just for Laughs it was good, but it was a bit different. For example,
Oh yeah,
stand-up comedy is one of those art forms that the audience is such an integral part of. When you do
absolutely.
straight
You want
stand-up
stand-up
comedy.
comedians. You want the comedians tend to play off the audience, get a feel for the crowd. I know this is a big part of Jimmy Carr's act, and he is phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Like a
and
movie you could do, people watch movies at home already. People listen to music at home already. Those festivals, it's easier, I think, to
I think
transition
it's
something.
I think it's also a challenge as well, because certain things are not as interesting or as engaging when something more exciting is just a click away. So for example, I saw a show with Amber Ruffin and I believe Jenny, oh gosh, I forget what her last name is, but they are both writers for the Amber Ruffin show and for Late Night with Seth Meyers,
Yeah.
and they did a panel discussion. And live, I'm sure I would have been riveted because I'm a huge fan of these two immensely talented, immensely funny women. But online, I found myself, despite my massive admiration for both of these women, I found myself, sort of drifting off part way. And I think it really was I think I could only really attribute it to the online format.
Yeah.
I didn't
Although,
feel as engaged as I would have had I had the experience of seeing it live.
yeah. See, the thing is, something that's transitioning something live to online. Whereas, for example, those same people on Seth Meyers or on the Amber Ruffin show, that's made for television. So that actually kind of
Absolutely.
does work online. I guess. Okay. Well, hopefully, a lot of things will get back to normal. But one thing that maybe would be good is if like rental prices went down in Quebec and in Montreal in particular. But our premier seems a little out of touch. This week, he actually said that he thinks that it's on average $500 to $600. What could people be paying you? This was in response to, I think, Manon Massé of Quebec Solidaire. He said, what could rental prices in Montreal be anyways? What, $500-600? Which is
Well,
true.
it's interesting. I sort of smile to myself because, I feel like Montreal in general, the population of Montreal is well aware of how incredibly tone deaf Legault is. I mean, look at Bill 21, look at sort of the insensitive vaccine rollout, look at the curfew that denies the reality for many cultural communities in Montreal. But
Yeah.
this was the one where he shoehorned his foot into his mouth so colossally that people outside of Montreal, his base, sort of woke up to how incredibly tone deaf he is. Because at the end of the day, Legault is not a man of the people, as it were. He has, what is it, $1 million house in Outremont?
Yeah.
He was CEO of Air Transat before he entered politics. And the thing is, you can get an apartment for $600 in Montreal, but it's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you are seeing another homeless tent encampment springing up. And that, I believe, was the topic that sort of spurred Manon Massé to make those comments. Because the thing is, there are beds available in the homeless shelters right now, but the homeless aren't going to them, and it's for a very simple reason. It's a temporary fix. It's a band-aid for a gushing wound of a problem. I'm sorry for the graphic imagery, but a lot of these homeless shelters, you're only allowed to stay there one night. You're not allowed to leave your stuff there. And they have some crazy conditions. Like, for example, there's a curfew. I mean, we have a curfew and everything, but I mean, there's a regular curfew. There is all sorts of requirements that will allow you to check in. A lot of them don't take pets, when a lot of homeless have pets for comfort. So, whereas having a tent encampment gave them the autonomy that they would have with their own homes when affordable housing is so far out of reach.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the thing is, Legault, he's out of touch with Montreal, but he doesn't need Montreal electorally. He's the first premier since Duplessis to actually be able to win a majority, even though he does have 2 seats on the island. If he didn't have those 2 seats, he'd still have a majority. He doesn't need Montreal to form government. So
Well, I feel like I've got a bit of insight into, his base because I lived in Quebec City for about 5 years while I was doing my law degree. I went to Université Laval. And what I experienced in Quebec City, I mean, obviously it's been a few years, but you basically have, say, you have 2 to 3 types of lodging. You have people who own their homes, obviously, own duplex, condo, whatever. You have people who are renting a room in a home called chambreurs, and these cropped up largely due to the student population of University of Laval, which has amazing sports facilities, so it draws students from all over the country. And then you have the apartments, which are like $600 and up. So I was very lucky. I found a room in a home with a family that I got along with quite well for $280 a month. But at the same time, because it was a room in a family home, it's not for somebody who truly loves their autonomy, who wants to be able to do something in the kitchen without seeing the neighbor's dog begging for whatever it is you're cooking, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I totally understand why it was this issue that opened up people's eyes across Quebec, particularly of his base, that maybe there's no maybe that he's out of touch with reality.
Yeah, exactly. Like the stuff, like when he goes with Bill 21, they don't realize that he's out of touch with the reality of Montreal because they don't.
Well, that one is particular. And, I wrote an article for Forget the Box about the recent ruling. And the vibe that you get outside of Montreal is that there is a genuine there's a genuine fear of multiculturalism and of any kind of religious expression, any kind of public religious expression. For example, I met a lot of students at Université Laval who were from rural Quebec, people who make up part of François Legault's base. And when I asked them why they came to University of Laval, a lot of them actually said that they wanted the big city experience. And I said, well, why didn't you apply to any schools in Montreal? And they said, no, it's too ethnic. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what they said. That they wanted sort of the big city university experience, but they were scared to death of the diversity that Montreal has and represents, which is funny because the food is so much better here.
Well, also too, the thing is, people like Legault, they nurture that fear, and that's how they get elected. But I guess, but now something like the rental price, that's something everyone can get along. Maybe people are starting to see what Montrealers have seen all along. Yeah. So I guess, thank you very much for joining us on FTB Fridays. People can follow you, your art page, right?
www.facebook.com/SamIamArt. You can also follow me on Instagram at SamIamArtistMTL.
Oh, okay. Well, add the Instagram. Is that a new one? Is the Instagram new?
No, it's been up for months.
Oh, okay.
I put up a very funny baby picture earlier, so you can have a laugh at that.
Yeah, we'll put links to that, also to the place where you can get vaccinated. Make sure you sign up to get vaccinated.
It's clicksante.ca.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description of the video. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jason C. McLean. You can give us share this video, like and subscribe, smash that like button, as they say on YouTube. You can like our page, share this video on Facebook, like this video on Facebook. You can follow Forget the Box on Twitter at Forget the Box. Download the Android app. The iOS one is still coming soon. And of course, for daily content, you can always check out forgetthebox.net. We'll catch you next week for another FTB Friday.